Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneur Show, where we interview entrepreneurs who are super awesome in their niches. And today's interview, we are finally able to make it happen, guys. It's all about taking imperfect action. You know about that. You probably saw that we were unable to do the intro as well, which we most of the times we do. But it's all about taking imperfect action. But that's actually what we're doing today. So today's guest is a serial entrepreneur here on 7 businesses out there. He actually helps people out there come out of their sales jails, and build their sales ecosystem that get their sales on autopilot and automations and so much more. You have like so many businesses out there as well, but also have able to generate from like $250,000 to over 8 million in their own business and in their clients' businesses as well. So please welcome today, Sean Malone. So let's welcome Sean in the house. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for being on the show today.
RJ, I'm so excited to be here, my man. How are you today?
I'm good. What about you? Finally, we are able to make it happen, man.
Yeah, well, tech glitches, right? Like everybody always has them, and it's just how you deal with it and show up and flow through it, right?
So true. So true. That's kind of a part of the game, actually. But yeah, finally, we're able to pull that up.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much for the opportunity, for sure. Yeah,
truly appreciate, man. Truly appreciate it. So the people who are jumping on live use hashtag live. The people who are jumping on replay use hashtag replay. So Sean, could you walk us through a little bit of your backstory of how you actually got started into entrepreneurship?
Of course, yeah. So I came out of college. I'll just take you back when I first started 21 years ago. After I finished college, I came out and I had one thing on my mind, and that one thing on my mind was, how do I make a boatload of money? I want to make as much money as possible. And so I went to my dad because he was the only person that had some success in his career, and at least in my world, right? And so I went to him and I said, Dad, I want to make a lot of money. How do I do it? And he goes, oh, that's easy. There's 3 choices. And I was like, oh, what are the choices? And he goes, well, are you a CEO? And I go, I don't even know what those letters stand for, so that's definitely probably not me. And he goes, are you an entertainer? And I go, well, I can't really sing or dance all that well. No, not an entertainer. And he goes, you better go learn sales. And I was like, okay, great. That's the one I got to go do. That's going to make me boatloads of money. I got to go be good at sales. So I took the sales job and I sucked. I was so bad. Here's what I mean. My first 6 weeks, I had a book, right? And so my book was a bunch of these businesses with their numbers. And so I had to just open the book and I would pick up the phone and I would call these companies. And so every day I made 80 calls, cold calls to these businesses. And after 2,400 attempts, wow, I booked 0 appointments.
Damn.
It sucks, right? Like so bad, the worst ever. That's why I say, like when I started, I sucked. And then I was about to throw the towel in and quit. And I called my dad and I'm like, yo, my boss is going to fire me. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, this is a horrible experience I've had. And he says, go to the library and read a book. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the library and I picked up a Tom Hopkins How to Master the Art of Selling Stuff book. And that was the first time I'd ever seen any education in the space where I was like, oh, there's actually a science to this thing called sales. I was like, it's exciting. This is exciting for me. So I rented the book and I come home and I memorized some of the book and I'm reading through and I'm like, oh, that thing will help me get into an appointment. If someone said that to me, I would say yes and have them be an appointment. So I memorized that little line and I went and I picked up the phone the next Monday. I made my sales call and I got to the place where I was supposed to say that. And I froze. Neck hairs stand up and the sweat beads start pouring down my face because I was nervous to say the thing. But then the guy was at the other end. He was like, oh, no, that's cool. Come on over. You can come over Tuesday at 9. And so I was like, oh, thank goodness. And so at that moment, I made my first appointment. I started cheering around and my boss walks by my office and he goes, did you just close a deal? And I looked at him. I was like, no. I just set an appointment. And I was so excited that I set my first appointment. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And that moment kind of shaped my future in communication. So I said, you know what? Like just doing that one thing, it flooded out all that emotion, the frustration, the anger, all that stuff was gone. And I was like, now I want to do this. I want to replicate that each day, every week, every month for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And so then I started doing that over and over, and I got into these sales calls and I went to these appointments, and then I didn't know how to sell. And I was like, oh, not again. And so I had to learn all of the stuff when it comes to sales. There's actually a process for that. But once I figured out those two things and I put these little systems together, that's when I really started to sell a lot of material. And so I was selling commodities. I didn't have my own company at the time yet. So I was selling steel and electronics and plastic, and I was selling it to the government, like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, these types of clients. And I started making a lot of money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want my own business. And so that's when I said, look, I've seen what this can do. I want to buy my own business. And I invested all that I had into my very first electronics manufacturing company. It was a brick and mortar, and we used to build circuit boards for government style companies. And that company was doing about $250,000 in revenue when I bought into it. And over the next couple of years, I took that company, I took my little systems and I put them in there, and I built it up to about $8.5 million in revenue. And at that stage, I was like, that journey was different for me because I'd never experienced one of them, and I had my systems to kind of work. Does that make sense so far, RJ?
Yeah.
You with me? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. And so at that stage, then I was like, okay, well, now we're doing really well. I'm going to keep growing this thing. And I thought it was going to be my baby. And so I'm actually working with a client in California. I'll never forget this. I'm sitting in this room with all these engineers, and my business partner calls me and he's like, dude, there's an emergency, come back to our facility. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? So I ended the meeting and I fly back. By the way, it was the biggest deal we were ever going to get to. So I had to like stop and go back to the thing. And I go into our facility, and my business partner is like, dude, come in my office. And I sit down and I'm like, who's this guy sitting next to me wearing the suit? I don't like suits. And he goes, Sean, while you were gone, I sold the business to the suit. Well, I'm like, wait, like you didn't even talk to me about this. How did you sell a business that I own 47% of a business? He goes, well, Sean, I own 53%. Sorry, it was my way. And that was my very first experience of what we call the cycle. Most entrepreneurs, if you're just getting started listening to me, it's okay if you go up and then you go down again, and because you can always go back up. Like if you know who Les Brown is, he's a very popular public speaker. He says, if you fall down, make sure you land on your back, because if you can see up, you can get up. And I always remembered that, right? And it was just so valuable. It's like all entrepreneurs get kicked in the teeth. They get pushed down all the time, and it's something that happens, and it's okay, right? These are life experiences. They're learning lessons. Just remember to get up and keep going. And this is, somebody once asked me like, Sean, what makes the best salesperson on the planet? And I was like, no, there's not just one thing. There's actually three things, right? So the first thing is conviction. And so that moment in my journey where I made an appointment, I was like, oh my God, this felt so good. Like I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I committed. I was convicted, like I was going to master the thing. And I ended up spending over $500,000 to really get good at it. I hired coaches, read books, went to seminar, all this other stuff. So the first thing is conviction. So if you're not convicted about what it is that you're selling or what you do, figure out why. It's okay if you feel that way. Just let the feelings come through and flow through. But take out a notepad and write down why you're not 100% convicted on the thing that you actually sell or do. And then figure out how to sell yourself on that, right? So that was the first thing I learned. I was like, I need to be convicted. Second thing was like the persistence, right? If you get knocked down, persist, get back up, keep going. It's okay. And then the last thing is consistency. And so it's just continually doing the action and moving forward. And so when you put those three pieces together, where you're convicted about something, you're persistent, you'll never stop, and you do the consistent actions on a day-to-day basis, you'll always win, especially if it's in sales. And so that was my lesson, because as I was going through this bad cycling, I was like, oh man, I just got knocked down. My business partner sold this business. I lost over 7 figures. It was a horrible deal. But I knew that I had to keep going. But I stumbled. I stumbled really hard, and I started drinking a lot. And during that stage of my life, I actually met my wife. And I was so grateful that I had that period in my life, even though it was a bad experience. I was like drunk all the time. It was not good. She tells me, she's like, yo, stop the drinking, do something good. Okay, great. What should I do? She says, you should go sell something because you're good at it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll start selling something in here. I live in Nevada, the desert, right? Las Vegas. And I was like, what should I sell? Well, I put my resume out and I landed this job selling roofing material in the desert where it never rains. And I was like, what better thing can I sell? Perfect. So I took my little systems that I had developed over time and I put them in the business, modified them around a bit, and it worked again. In the first 18 months, I broke all these sales records because I'd done the work to learn the thing, the science, right? And all of a sudden I was like, I realized, oh my God, I hate these people that I'm working with. I don't want to be in this place. So I ended up quitting that business. I didn't want to be there. And that was 5 years ago. That's when my wife saw a Facebook ad. That's how we climbed into the online game in the first place. And she saw this Facebook ad of this little 19-year-old kid going across a beach like this, no shirt on, just pure, like, I don't know. He's like, and he's just claiming on this ad, he's like, I just made all this money online. You know, you've seen those, right, RJ?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, look, this is what I thought. My little voice inside my head says, Sean, if that little dork can do it, you can definitely do it too. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I could do that, right? And so I didn't know marketing, but I did know sales. And I was like, if this guy can teach me some marketing, I can probably combine it with what I know and do well. Well, it worked. Go ahead. Yeah. And it worked way better than anything I could have ever imagined because we started with a network marketing in multi-level marketing. We were selling for a company out of Japan. And it was these medical grade water systems. And they sit on your counter in your kitchen, make beautiful product. We still have one, love it. And we started using this little marketing thing. This was the first time we started learning like paid advertising into the cold traffic market. That's what we were doing. And so it was like buying Facebook ads and looking at Google ads and other things like this. And it was hard. It was like, I had to learn, oh man, it was a whole language. You have to learn the whole, you know, right, RJ? I mean, like it's a it's a language. You got to learn the thing. Whether you're doing it for yourself or you got to manage an agency, you still have to know the language so you can speak and manage and do the stuff. So it took us a long time to figure that out. And we ended up building 34 different pieces of creative, 34 tries at building a video ad that actually started to convert. Most people quit after the first 2 or 3. Imagine going 34 tries and just tears and anger and frustration. Finally, we made one that worked. And when we did, it blew up. Like we built this business. It went to, I don't know, we had 2,500 people in a downline that had paid over 10,000 with us. And we built an audience of like 300,000 people. And these people are just all over us. And they came back to us one day and they said, guys, your software sucks. You need to fix it. And I was like, dang it, that's not our software. We didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But since you're the entrepreneur and you're the leader and you're like, got all these people looking at you, like, again, imperfect action is the answer. This is what you said earlier today. And so during this time, we were being coached by Russell Brunson, the greatest online marketer of our decade, of our lifetime, probably. And we're in his inner circle and still are and love the guy to death. And he says to us, he goes, Sean, you need software. I know software people. Meet these software people. And so he connected us. And I'm so grateful because we were able to form a deal with them and we built a software tool. And the software tool, then we brought all the people in. We did a launch and it did $1 million in 10 months. And we sold over 12 million on the back end. Now, it wasn't an easy journey to get there. In fact, it took me into burnout alley. I hit 11 out of the 12 signals saying I was burned out. I was at a place in my life where I was driving down a highway one day and almost turned off the road and hit a tree because I was in that place. And it took me 2 coaches and a lot of time to recover mentally to come back from that place. So a next lesson I learned as an entrepreneur, and I think it's so valuable for everyone to hear this, is if you're in that grind mode, it's okay for a season, right? But create harmony in your world. You can be unharmonized. I don't like the word balance because if it's 49-51, it's unbalanced. But I like the word harmony, where a season can be harmony or in harmony, out of harmony, and there's no numbers, right? And so it's okay as an entrepreneur to be unharmonized for a season, a month, a winter, a summer, maybe even a year, but keep parameters, keep an eye on this, because if you go too much and you push too hard, you'll end up burning out. And then you can't build a business of any kind. And so this is what Russell was watching. He watched our whole journey as we go through this. And after huge success, he says, Sean, he goes, man, I've been watching you and you need to just get out of that. You need to kill your baby, end the company, and go in a direction where you'll have good mental, like you got to get right with yourself. And so he told us, he instructed us, he said, finish, end the company. And we're like, how do you stop a company doing 7 figures, multiple 7 figures? You're like, oh, this is crazy. And so it took us a year. We ended up selling the software company, thankfully. And then we asked our other coach, Alex Scharf, and we're like, what should we do? And he said, well, what are you good at? And we said, yo, we're pretty good at sales. And he says, Sean, guess what? All these guys online, they kind of suck at selling. You should help them. And I was like, I can totally do that. So Chris and myself and our team, we fired up our own high ticket sales agency, and we started showing these entrepreneurs. They came to us. They said, Sean, I don't want to sell. I want a sales team. I was like, okay, here's how to hire, onboard, and train a sales team. And so that we charged a bunch of money to do that for a lot of our clients, and it went really well. We hired, onboarded, and trained sales teams. But then what we saw was the revenue numbers weren't hitting where they needed to hit. They weren't getting the kinds of results they were kind of expecting after that. So they came back and they said, Sean, I love this team you've bought. Here's my problem. The revenue's not there. And so we started digging. And what we found was this. Most businesses, yeah, they want sales teams and all this other stuff, but not very few businesses have a predictable and a consistent system on the front side of their business that can all feed the sales team or feed the business new opportunity. And so we're like, oh, when we recognize, they're like, oh, where's all your leads? And she's, the entrepreneurs come back to us and they'd be like, we don't know how to fill up the calendar of the sales team you just built us. Can you help? Sure. We have a system for that. And we put that system in place, and that's when everything changed for us. And another turning point is, you're listening to this, just think about your career and your journey that you go on, right? As we thought we're going to hire on board and train sales teams, and that's magic, and we can do that all day. But it wasn't solving the problem that the people wanted. The people wanted the revenue, and the revenue engine started at the front of the process, which is your lead generations. Like, how do you create lead gen so that your sales teams can do the thing they do? And so we recognize that, oh, the sales teams come later, or I guess later in the process. What starts early is the engine. And so when we recognize that, we're like, okay, we know how to do that. We've done it for years and 20 years. We're like, yo, let's go serve this to the market. So we started another division of our company, offering a high ticket mastermind, teaching them this system that we've used for years and years and years. And then we had 30 businesses come through and test it. And every one of those businesses has now hit record numbers and just continues to blow it out the water. And we're like, oh, this is it. And then we realized this. We're like, how we were teaching it was off of Google Docs and spreadsheets. Pretty basic, not super sexy. So we're like, okay, we should build a software tool that actually does this. And so that's what we did. We started looking around. We're like, because here was the problem, right? We all know. Do you use a CRM, RJ? What CRM do you use to manage stuff? You like Salesforce, Pipedrive, HubSpot. There's so many of them, right? Like, do you have one that you use?
So I'm not, I have a software that's not like one of those things, but yeah, I'm actually using a CRM, but it's not, that's kind of a different thing out there out of these main CRM softwares. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what a CRM does. It's a customer relationship manager. It's a tool that everyone can use. And so we were like, okay, there's a number of these amazing tools out there. Here was my question, right? Because it's all based on the data that I know, right? And here's what I know. Small and middle-sized businesses, 83% of the time are using instant messenger, whether it be on any of the social platforms, to close deals. 83% of them use Messenger to close deals. And we're like, that's a big number, and nobody's paying attention to it. So there's all these good CRMs. Why don't they deal with Messenger? Because they're great at email, they're great at automation, they're great at text messages, they're great at calls. Yeah. But if all these businesses are using Messenger, why doesn't anyone deal with it? So then we're like, we got to buy the tools and figure it out. So we ended up buying 8 or 10 or 15 of these tools. I don't even remember how many. And we clicked all the buttons to see what they all did. And what we recognized was very simple. These tools that are out there in that place are designed and built by marketers. No offense. I love marketers. I love marketing. But we said if we were going to solve the problem, we needed to handle it from a sales perspective, meaning what does it take to close the deal? And then you work backwards until you get to the beginning. And then that's where the leads thing comes through. And so when we designed a sales tool, we're like, okay, that's what we're going to do. And so we put this thing in place. It manages the sales conversation and it goes forward. So like a lot of these tools right now, what do? They're great. They'll raise their hand. They'll say, hey, I'm a shiny object. And then they start a conversation. And all those conversations then get real messy in Messenger. And there's not a really good way to manage all those, let alone drive them into a place where you can close a deal. And so that was where, you know what I'm saying? And so that's when we were like, oh, that's the software tool. And so we end up building that exact tool. And people have been using this tool now for months, right? It was designed in 2017. We just rebuilt the whole thing about 12 months ago, tested the hell out. We have 130 businesses that are pumping through, and just the results are astonishing that we're seeing. And so it brings me a lot of fulfillment to know that now I can actually really serve a business that's in the coaching, not in the coaching space, but just in the online space, whether it's coach, consultant, if it's a small business entrepreneur, if it's a solopreneur, we have enterprise stuff that we do. Yes. And it's been a really great journey, understanding and learning that whole thing. And now we're at a place where we're going out to the world with this. We're launching our tool this upcoming month. Yeah. So,
wow, that's absolutely awesome out there, because what you said makes a lot of sense out there for me as well. Because when I started out, I saw a Facebook ad, and I was like watching people having Lambos, and I'm like, okay, I can do it as well. I was 18 at the moment. I'm 21 right now, but yeah, at that moment I had that thing in my mind when I got into it. And what you said makes so much sense in every phase of the things, is the conviction, the persistence, and the consistency. So I have a follow-up question on that. Okay, you had tried to do like so many sales calls. It didn't work out in the initial start. Why? What do you think is the number one mistake people make when they're actually doing sales calls, and when they're not consistent? Why you feel so that they quit? What do you think about it?
Okay. The number one, there's a number of things that I typically, because I do a lot of sales call reviews. I do them weekly, monthly. And so the number one thing, and it's easy, it's simple. 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in proportion, okay? Talk less than you listen. Very simple. Most salespeople are having sales conversations, and it's, I've done this. This is me, 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 me. This is my stuff. This is my features. This is my benefits. This is what my product can do for you. This can solve all your problems. And you don't even know if they have a problem or not. And so the number one thing that I would share is don't talk, listen. And simply ask, hey, tell me about your business. Oh, that's awesome. Where are you trying to take it? Oh, that's awesome. What's holding you back? Oh, I see. And immediately in 3 questions, you'll have gotten more data than anything you could have ever spat at somebody. And so when you understand, like, yes, they have a problem, and yes, I solve the problem, guess what? Now the sales call should really start to take place. But if you can't identify that they have a problem you can solve, you shouldn't sell them anything.
Yep, so true. So why do you think so really people have the lack of consistency of actually going to it? Why people just not, okay, if in the initial start they're actually failing out, why they don't just go and stay consistent with it? Because if they know that sales is absolutely the bloodline of their business. What do you think about that aspect?
Yeah, so I think the majority of people, when it comes to sales, number one, a lot of people have had like bad perceptions of, from the past growing up, of seeing, oh, he's the slick sales guy. Don't deal with sales. Like there's always that like piece in your mind, right? So everybody's got that record first, and then we're always taught like, hey, don't talk to strangers when we're little kids. But if you're a sales professional, guess what? You got to talk to a lot of strangers. So you better get through that, right? And so I call it head trash, right? So you got to kind of take the trash and throw it out. And then the second biggest thing is, I'm going to say, selling systems, right? There is a system for every sales call or every conversation that you're having, whether you know it or you don't. If you don't know it, guess what? You're probably being run on somebody else's system. Not a good place to be. Most salespeople that I speak with stick to or default to what I call the traditional prospect system. And that system is 4 steps. Lie, steal, lie, hide. Let me show you. I'll walk you through an example. Let's say you wanted to buy a television set or, a big screen TV. And so you and your spouse, you go to the store and you go into like a Best Buy store, whatever, and you open the doors, and what happens? The sales guy walks up and they say to you, Hey, can I help you? What's the first thing you say? Nah, I'm just looking, right?
Yeah.
That's lie number one. You know damn well you didn't go to a Best Buy to buy a television and say you're just going there to look. Like, that's a lie, like, clearly, right? So that's the first of the prospect system, lie. The second one is steal. Here's how that one plays. So then the sales guy goes, okay, great. Let me know if you have any questions. And you say, oh, wait, you know what? We're kind of interested in TVs. Can you show us the TVs? Sure. So you guys walk back to the TV section, and then the sales guy starts blabbing about all these different TVs and giving you all, hey, I really like this one. Oh, here's all the stuff about this one. Boom. Just shared everything there was about the TV, all the connections, how it hooks up. Guess what? You just stole, lie, steal is the second step. You just stole all of the information from that sales guy, right?
Yeah.
Next one is lie again. So lie, steal, lie. So the third part is lie. So now you know all the information about the TV. The sales guy comes back and says, hey, is this something you think you can get into? And you're like, oh, and meanwhile, your spouse had left and gone across the store. And you say to him, well, I got to have my spouse to make a decision. It was all pre-planned before you even came to the store. And again, the sales guy says, great, let's go find your spouse. And so he's like, well, I'll go find him. And you leave the sales guy. So lie, steal, lie. You've lied to them now. Like, I got to get approval with my spouse, even though you guys both agreed you're going to buy a TV. And then hide, right? So you say to the sales guy, I'll be back. I'm going to go grab my spouse. You walk, you grab your spouse, and you say, hey, I figured it out. We're going to go buy it on Amazon. I know the exact one I want. You leave the store. And the sales guy is burned, right? You lie, steal, lie, hide. You hide. You ran away. You're out of the store. This is the traditional prospect selling system. And if you don't have a sales system, you always get stuck in that one. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It does makes a lot of sense out there. And plus, I want to say for every single person is anyone who is into selling point and they're struggling to selling, they should understand these 4 factors that you actually said, because they're actually stuck in these 4 things. And then they're like, oh my God, we are providing them info, but they're not buying. I don't know what's happening. Common things with most of the people out there actually say when they're trying to sell to other people. And they have to listen to this. So guys, like, just go and listen to it. If you haven't checked it out, go back and watch it again. So it is important. And I love it. Like, thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course. Yeah. And so on the counter flip side of that, right, there's lots of different selling systems that are out there. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time going through all of them. And I created a 7-point system that we teach to actually, which is what we call the sales ascenders method, or the Ascension method. And the Ascension method works. It's worked in business to government. It works very well in business to business, and it works in business to consumer. And it's a systemized way of structuring and having a selling conversation where you know and your prospect knows where you are the whole way through. And it's a nice conversation to know, are they a fit? Are they not? We can move on and move forward. And so it gives you a very easy way. And actually, it's disqualifying, not qualifying. A lot of all these selling systems are qualify, 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 qualify. Well, our selling system, what we teach is disqualify. We go into a conversation saying this is the right fit. It's my job as a sales professional to disqualify them from being a fit. And when you come at it from that perspective, everything changes. The conversation dynamics shift. They're all of a sudden your best friends. Your connection, your rapport is amazing. And next thing you know, you're closing a deal faster than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, so true. So it's like making sure and qualify the people who you not to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not qualified to buy from me. That's what your job as a sales professional. Like, I need to double check that you're not qualified to buy from me, because as you continue doing that, eventually you're going to run into people where you know you can solve a problem. And then you say, hey, listen, you have the problem. I can solve it in my sleep. Do you want to move forward? Right?
Yeah.
Very simple.
So,
yeah.
So true. So true. And it makes a lot of sense out there. So where people can go in and get into your world, like where people can go in and find about you out there and be like, hey, we want to follow Sean. We want to learn all these stuff out there on the sales side, because I know that I was talking with like few of my friends out there, and when they got to know that the interview got booked, they were like, oh my God, yeah, Sean, oh my God, he helped us a lot out there. So I really know that you are all about the sales side and everything out there, even when I started to follow you. So where do you think the people can find about you and the other stuff that you have right now?
Yeah, so our biggest presence is on Facebook. We don't have websites or funnels or any of that stuff because we don't need them, right? There's a lot of methods that you can use or not use. And so just go to Facebook groups, look for the groups, and then type in Sales Ascenders Inner Circle. RJ, I'll send you a link. There'll probably be a link around this video in the show notes, maybe right below. Yeah. And then you can just click the link and come over to our Facebook group and join. It's free. I teach a lot of sales stuff each and every day. In fact, I'm going right now through a body language and sales series where I'm talking about all the different features and watching body language and you're in a sales call. It's pretty popular, getting a lot of great feedback from it. And so if you're into learning, like a lot of people say, hey, Sean, I want to be great at sales. That's awesome. I could teach you to be great at sales probably in a weekend. But the thing that is most important is like, once you know how to sell, that's one thing. And even if you were the best sales guy in the world or woman, you wouldn't be able to close deals because you have no opportunity coming into your world. So what I say is, I can easily teach you sales. My question is going to be, where and how are the opportunities being drawn into your world so you can have the conversations and actually practice the sales techniques?
Yeah.
And so in most sales coaching programs just focus on here's how you get really good at sales. Here's the sales process you use. And they don't cover the other side of here's the opportunity where we can actually have the conversations. And so just come over to the group. You'll learn a bunch of that stuff. We'll teach you everything you need to know and you'll be on your way.
Awesome. So I'm going to put up the link in the description down below and also in the show notes. And thank you so much, Sean, for being on the show. Any last word that you want to say before we round the show up?
No, I think the most important thing that you can remember is just take action, even if it's imperfect, right? Do the thing. Don't be, if you're nervous, understand that nervous energy is good energy. We always talk about walking on the edge. I say the edge is when you're feeling nervous. So if you've never done sales calls or you're not the best at them, that's okay. Understand. And one of my instructors, Garrett White, he always said, you know what, Sean, at first you're going to suck and that's okay. Right? Because then you'll keep doing it and you'll suck less. And then eventually you'll suck so little that you become good. And all of a sudden now you're good at it and it's no problem. And it's just that learning curve of you got to do the work and get to the conversations. And there's a sales ascender inside of each and every one of you. And I'm excited for you to be here listening to this. Hopefully you've took one or two things you can put in your world today and go for it. So thank you for the time, RJ. It's been great. And just a big fan of what you're doing, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much and truly appreciate your time, man. And guys, thank you so much for watching the show out there. We're definitely going to see you guys next week. Until then, peace out.
Bye now.